Welcome to Theology Thursday, a weekly podcast Welcome to Theology Thursday. Wait, let me start over. Welcome to Theology Thursday, a weekly podcast dedicated to cultivating theological conversation amongst millennials. I am your host, Ryan Mock.
I'm your co-host, Connor Grubbs.
And I'm your co-host, Johnny Grubbs.
Man, I'm glad you finally got through that, buddy.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
It's been a few weeks.
It has. There's been some things going on. I went on a trip, and I'm just going to leave it at that, because actually I had to edit some out of the last episode and re-upload it, because I said way too much about the trip. I didn't realize how vague we have to be. But the place I went, for things to continue there, we have to be super vague because the government and things. So
yeah,
don't say anything about it.
This is our little secret.
I'm gonna yeah.
So if you're Lithuanian, don't worry about us. It's okay.
Yeah. So there's so much that I learned and got out of the trip that I can't not talk about it on the show, but I'm just going to kind of spread it out over a few episodes and be super vague about it, and I'm actually not going to talk about it at all for the rest of this episode, but that's why, if you saw the episode get re-uploaded, that's why.
Ah.
So...
I didn't even notice, by the way. So.
Yeah, well, I tried to keep it,
low-key.
Low-key. Just like Thor's brother.
Oh, gosh.
But, I missed you guys while I was gone. I really did.
I missed you too.
I miss you too, man.
I mean, you're here now. I don't miss you anymore.
I feel like Johnny...
No, there were a couple times where, because, we chat during the week, and there were a couple times where I was, going to text...
Tell them that.
Of course we do. We're brothers. We're good friends. Are you trying to keep up this illusion that you don't like me?
Yes.
I don't want them to know this.
Okay, well, anyway, normally, send him a funny text or something, and I would pick up my phone because I think something is funny, and I want him to know about it, and I realize he's in Scandinavia. So
yeah.
No, so I'm glad you're back from Iceland. Thank you.
No, I had a great time in Russia. So, carrying on, I'm going to kick my shoes off. I feel like this is going to be one of those episodes.
Well, just make yourself at home, why don't you, Connor?
Yeah, I am. You know what? I am. Like Johnny said, we're great friends, so... did anything really eventful happen while I was gone? I mean, I had no connection to the real world.
No. Standard operating procedures.
Here in the city, things were just pretty much normal. On the home front, I celebrated my second anniversary with my wife.
Happy birthday.
I haven't really checked how many listens the first eschatology episode got.
I hope it got a lot.
But I know, we went from a really, kind of spicy, clickbaity title, Homosexuality, the Pope, and Baptist, to a really, boring title, Eschatology Part 1, The Exegetical Views. And literally...
Well, that sounds like a movie.
Yeah, well, no, it doesn't. It sounds like a really boring podcast. And so... I've literally had a few people that said they deleted that episode from their library just because of how long and boring the title was, because we used fancy words and stuff. But I was super proud. I was like, oh, we actually talk about theology. It's been a while.
So we're going to talk about theology, but give us a good clickbaity title.
Man, my feet smell.
There you go, right there.
No, well, and that's what we were talking about. What I was talking about with a few of my friends, if we talk about enough weird things and subpoints and stuff like that I just got to take the most clickbaity thing out of the episode, even if it's just one sentence and we don't talk about it that long, and start making that the title. That way we just have a bunch of weird titles.
We still got to throw in that we are going to be talking about eschatology.
Yeah, but I think if people actually listen to what we're talking about, they would actually be entertained by it, but they need to get through the door first.
Yeah, they need the open... Life is an open door.
No, don't. That's not even how you sing this song.
Love is an open door. Yeah, there you go.
I'm the resident Disney expert.
Series of doors in my face.
Okay, now he's getting it.
And then suddenly I bump into you.
Okay.
Ooh. I know the dance that goes with that song too.
Speaking of dance, what are our sub-points?
Oh, good transition. So, for Johnny's sub-point, I just have a quick question. I think we need some introductory questions to transition into this properly. So, ask you guys a couple questions. Do you like cake?
Dude, I love cake.
Yes.
Are you gay?
Yeah. No.
Johnny,
I'm not gay.
Okay.
Would we
Well,
like gay
then I
cake?
think this is the perfect topic for us to talk about. Johnny, what is it?
Well, there've been the most recent story that came out about gay cake. It's not really gay cake. I'm sorry. This is getting
It's just
cake.
sorry.
Cake can't
Okay.
be
Okay. I'm sorry. There have been many stories within the past few years about like wedding cake shops and homosexuals coming to purchase a cake, and the owner, because of their faith, saying, even followers of Islam or whatever, saying no.
Get out of here, you raging homosexual.
Yeah, they probably say something like that, and I hope that we as Christians don't say things like that. But more recently, the Masterpiece Cake Shop in Colorado, two guys came in and were like, "Hey, we'd like a cake.
Like a gay cake.
We're getting married," and you guys are chuckling too much. We're supposed to handle this with class and maturity.
Okay.
So they come in, they want a cake, and of course they sort of gently say, I can't do this because it violates my faith. I really believe that marriage is this sacred and very spiritual thing, and I don't want to participate in that ceremony. Doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means I want to practice my faith in this free country the same way you practice your lifestyle in this country. And so it was very there was this conversation about it, and it went to the Supreme Court, and when all of that was on the table, which I'd wondered for a long time with a lot of these cases, when are we going to have this conversation that puts all of those things out there? Like, if you're free to live your lifestyle this way, aren't I free to not participate with it on some level? I don't know. I just feel like everybody should have the constitutional freedom. And in this specific case, because there was clear communication on both sides, the Colorado court system ruled in favor of our religious.
What kind of ruling was it, though, Johnny?
It was a ruling that said that they were allowed to.
You're not answering my question. It was what they call a narrow ruling.
Oh yeah, it's where it's very specific. Yeah,
yeah, which means that. But we can use the technical terms
okay,
so that
I'm sorry.
people are listening. A narrow ruling is one that applies specifically to this case, whereas certain Supreme Court rulings may, and a lot of times with a case like this, they would make a ruling that shops can't discriminate against these people anymore. Bottom line, and it ends up ending in not just a ruling for that specific case, but a new law. Yeah. So this was a narrow ruling. It was very specific.
And I think in order to continue to be constitutional, this is just not even getting into the spiritual aspects of this dilemma, but even just to be constitutional, we're going to have more narrow rulings, because somebody's going to get their rights infringed on if we keep trying to do this back and forth thing. Which leads me to another story by which we can compare it to, where, they're going to be, I think my point is that couple is going to be able to find somebody to make their cake. They're not going to lose out on their right to have a cake for their wedding.
Yeah. And so I agree that the narrow ruling is an important thing, because it is possible for somebody, based on their religious beliefs, to use that as an excuse to discriminate. And we want to make sure that's not happening.
Right.
And ultimately what the Supreme Court decided is, because of the details and the specifics of this case, that it wasn't discrimination, and that we needed to also honor religious freedom. So we want to make sure both those things are protected, both sides. And I think it's important for Christians to be in agreement on that. So what's the next story?
Well, there was a Washington State florist named Baronelle Stutzman, who is this, pretty adorable old lady. She's just really sweet, and she's all these interviews and stuff like that. And she was asked by a longtime customer and friend, somebody that she considers a friend, to do floral arrangements for his same-sex wedding. And she's like, I really would like to talk to you about this. And so they got together for lunch, and she explained to him, the whole thing, why she felt like she couldn't participate in this. She gave him recommendations from florists that didn't have the same convictions, that she knew would do a good job, and he was really happy with it. He was like, well, you know what? I respect your beliefs, you're respecting mine, and I'm getting florists that are recommended by you, so they're the recommendations I can trust. Everybody wins, and they walk away. Well, his partner is not happy with that and makes an angry post on Facebook or whatever.
Oh boy!
But that's it. That was going to be the end of it. But the Washington Supreme Court, one of their judiciaries or whatever, saw it and was like, this is in violation of the law, and ultimately the Washington State Court or the Supreme Court, I don't know the details, I should get up on this before but bottom line is they were sued by the government.
Which is, point. I mean, what on earth?
I know.
Right? This is something where one of the partners was totally cool with it, and the other one put a post up, but like was going to go along with it anyway. It didn't matter. This was not something that the government should have gotten involved in. That's actually pretty concerning.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like a double whammy, because it's like, well, we know now that it's possible to have honest conversations across the spectrum, and to say, to reach out to those in the LGBTQ community and say, we love you, but, we have our beliefs, you have your beliefs. That doesn't mean we can't understand one another. But it also goes to show that there's still some really scary, controlling issues here, and that there's still a lot at stake. So
Ryan, comments, questions, amens?
Amen.
I think we just got to keep that line of communication open between, people of faith and people of the LGBT.
People of faith and people of gay.
Sure,
gay ones.
So here's my final question before we move on to the next subpoint. Would you be willing to make a cake for me and Ryan? We're not getting married. We just want a cake.
You wouldn't want my cake. I'm terrible at baking.
Okay. Well,
Do you have can you recommend us?
We should all just go get cake.
Yeah.
At Cake Affection.
Cake Affection. Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. Not yet, at least.
But they're local. Bay Pines. If you're a local listener.
Yeah, you got to support your local businesses.
Aaron and see if he'll give us some money and some cake.
I'd settle for one of those mini cupcakes.
Yeah, no, I'd settle for a cupcake.
If you give me a mini cupcake, I'll plug you all the time.
Yeah, dude, let's see if in return for advertising him on our podcast, he'll just give us each one free cupcake a month.
That's fair.
I like this idea. Aaron, if you're listening,
we're coming for your cupcakes.
We're coming for you.
Do you think he's listening?
I don't know. I've been surprised at the people who choose to listen to this show. I really
in a good way. We love you.
Like what?
Yeah, keep listening. We're so glad to have you.
And share with your friends and family and
smash that like button.
Smash that like button. Hit that subscribe.
Oh dear.
So, well, I mean, we are on YouTube as well, so some people might be doing that.
Comment below your favorite pizza topping.
So, Ryan, what's your subpoint?
Okay, so from one controversial topic to the next, we're going to talk about abortion. So a very sad thing happened last week. Ireland, for the longest time, has been one of the last places in Europe, in the UK, where abortion is banned. But last week there's a vote to repeal the 8th Amendment, which was a constitutional ban on abortion. In Ireland, the only time you could get an abortion if it was life threatening to the mother, and that's how it was. But now they wanted to have a vote to repeal the ban on normal abortions. And so, sure enough, the vote happened, and sure enough, it says nearly 2 in 3 Irish voters opted to repeal the 8th Amendment. I was about to say commandment.
Got really biblical almost.
Wait, how do you repeal the 8th Commandment?
Hey, which commandments do not murder?
Not the 8th one.
I don't know the
I think
order.
it's the 7th or 6th. Well, I'd say, they're violating one of those. So.
Hold on a second. Now I got to figure out what the 8th Commandment is.
All right,
keep going.
So, wait, I could look it up.
No, I want to look it up. You have to keep doing your
fine.
subpoint.
Christians are supposed to know the 10 Commandments in order.
Darn it! I know the ingredients of a Big Mac. Kurt Cameron would be proud.
I just want to read this. Just to skim through this article by The Guardian. The first paragraph just kind of says it all about the current state of the secular world. Ireland has voted by a landslide to repeal its near-total ban on abortion, an extraordinary victory for women's rights that seals the country's transformation from bastion of religious conservatism into one of Europe's most tolerant democracies. So it's a very sad day. People are, for some reason, okay with murdering their babies, which is a very sad thing. And I think God is going to judge people for that. So,
what chapter is the Ten Commandments in? I thought it was
20.
Deuteronomy 20.
It's Exodus 20.
Exodus 20. Why did I think Deuteronomy? It's in Deuteronomy somewhere. I think they repeat it in Deuteronomy.
Maybe.
This is the part of the show where we admit we don't know what we're talking about.
No, they do repeat it in Deuteronomy. I just don't remember which chapter. Because they repeat everything in Deuteronomy. That's what the whole book of Deuteronomy is. All right.
It literally means second law.
Yeah, they're just kind of like, hey, remember all this stuff we said?
See,
yeah, you should. Because they don't, because the Israelites are very forgetful, because they're a bunch of morons, just like us. So,
yeah, it's just a few other paragraphs from this article. Tears, joy, and disbelief greeted the first exit polls late on Friday evening, and even when official counting began on Saturday morning, many supporters were still dazed by emotion. I'm really overwhelmed and proud, said Dominique McMullen, 31, wiping away tears. With the marriage equality referendum and this, we are leading the way. We are a new country. The old Ireland is gone. So, yeah, that's my sub-point.
You were right. The seventh commandment is you shall not murder, so good job on that one. The eighth commandment is you shall not commit adultery.
Oh, so don't do that either.
So I haven't really been paying attention to your sub-point at all, because I've been too busy trying to figure out the Ten Commandments. But Johnny, if you have something valuable to say, please go ahead.
Well, I was living in Ireland at the time of the marriage referendum, and I remember, we weren't, like, going out, like, picketing, like, crazy, like, mad Christians. It wasn't like this Westboro Baptist thing going on. We were actually using some of the campaign slogans that were actually created by some gay fashion designers in Ireland who were against gay marriage.
Did anybody use a pun about finding gold at the end of the rainbow?
No. What was interesting about it is they actually did have a very broad conversation at Ireland, and there were a lot of people who say we're not homophobes. We just don't see this working as a family unit, and we do think that this is, that the family is a sacred thing. And these were people who weren't Christians. So it was interesting that there was this dialogue going on, and yet in the end, this referendum kind of went through in favor of gay marriage by like a landslide. And so in some ways, it doesn't surprise me that this happened, but it's incredibly sad. But one dynamic that I would encourage people to look at this with, and I'm not at all saying, like, I believe abortion is totally wrong. I don't think, I think we have to, it's right to be pro-life. But Douglas Gresham, who is C.S. Lewis's stepson, started a ministry in Ireland specifically for post-abortion counseling, because what happened was many women in Ireland would travel outside of Ireland to get abortions, and they would come back and they would feel confused and they would feel this sense of guilt, and instead of finding the solution in Christ, which was the goal of Douglas Gresham's ministry, they would often find it by suppressing it and by telling themselves over and over again it was the right choice, it was the right choice, it was the right choice. And so for them, this is just another, because if you see the video, there are people cheering and crying, like this is like the greatest day of their life. And I think that it's another attempt to try to alleviate this natural guilt that is felt from abortion, that is felt across the spectrum, whether you're a Christian or not. And the reality is you can't fix that with a referendum. You can't fix that even with secular therapy. It has to come through realizing that Christ accepts you as you are if you're willing to come to Him. And so I sympathize almost with some of those women, because I feel like in that moment I could see they were still trying to just get rid of this guilt, and this referendum was an affirmation of that what they did was right. But I think at the end of the day they know,
Yeah.
So...
And you look at Scripture. Okay, so a conservative Christian would say, and even some Christians who aren't, don't consider themselves conservative, that abortion is murder, right? Paul murdered lots of people, and God saved him and forgave him and loved him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I think that's one thing, is that some women avoid the church because if they've had an abortion or if it's something they're considering, they avoid the church because they feel like it's a place they're going to be judged. And unfortunately in some churches that may be the case. Although I would argue this is one of the areas that the evangelical church is actually pretty strong in providing support and encouragement to women who have been through this. Because that's the important part too, is not just advocating for it being illegal and all that stuff, but also on a personal and practical level supporting people who have been through it.
Yeah. Just to add a little bit more to this subpoint, the vote was to repeal the constitutional ban on abortion. What this does not do is legalize abortion, but what it does do is open the door to legalize abortion.
Right.
So abortion's not legalized yet. It's just the constitutional ban on abortion is repealed in Ireland. So very shortly we will see legislation to legalize abortion in Ireland.
Well, Ryan, thank you for your subpoint.
You're welcome, Connor.
I guess I have a subpoint. So this is something that happened several weeks ago. We're a little late on this, but we had a lot to talk about a couple weeks ago anyway, because we were talking about the Pope and the DC Baptist Convention and all this stuff that was happening.
And gay people.
And we didn't even get to talk about something that for me was a little... It was very disappointing. For a lot of people, very disappointing. And that is Paige Patterson.
Ooh, yes, I've been reading about that.
So, my subpoint today is about Mr. Paige Patterson. And I know we're a little late in talking about this, but it's just because a couple weeks ago we already kind of had a full docket, and then last week that was a pre-recorded episode. So, Paige Patterson, president of Southwestern Theological Baptist Theological Seminary.
Yeah.
And to many, in the Southern Baptist Convention, kind of a hero because of what happened, kind of in the
90s and
in the 90s, in the 80s, 90s, what is known amongst Southern Baptists as the conservative resurgence. Jerry Falwell wrote a book on it called The Baptist Reformation, and essentially it was. Liberalism was kind of creeping its way into the teaching and the material of the Southern Baptist Convention, and the Southern Baptist Convention was kind of shrinking as a result of it because so many people were in disagreement, and this kind of political battle went on inside of the convention of, okay, we need to take a stand as a convention, and some people wanted to take a stand of being kind of loose and, not all of the Bible is true, and this and that, and others were like, oh, and also like, okay, gay marriage is okay, and abortion is okay, and so very loose, and not just liberal like politically, but liberal like as far as their Bible teaching as well. And others were like, let's take a stand for God's word and for Christian values. And so this kind of battle went on, and Paige Patterson was kind of the lead man in the conservative resurgence. So people look back at that and they're like, the Southern Baptist Convention is what it is today because of him. One problem with that, we have to realize that any church is what it is because of God. Mm-hmm. It's God's sovereignty. That's not to say there aren't churches that talks about in Revelation where God just lifts his hand up off of it because of the leadership and because of different things. So that's not to say there aren't churches that are being led wrong and led astray, and that God is kind of, his spirit is removed from it. I forget which of the churches, 7 churches in Revelation it talks about, but that's kind of what it talks about in one of the 7 churches in Revelation, how God's spirit just kind of left the church because they were lukewarm. There's a lukewarm church, but there's another one as well. Anyway, the point is, what God has done with the Southern Baptist Convention, God did, and he may have used Paige Patterson as a tool in that, but people kind of tend, I think, to idolize him. So since then, he's been president of this seminary, very influential, important seminary in the convention, and recently some things have come to light about comments he's made over email and even in sermons, so these are things there's proof of.
Oh, yes, I have seen this.
Yeah,
it really disturbed me, so I just stopped.
Yeah, he said some very creepy comments about a teenage girl and her appearance, and then he also encouraged somebody who on May.
Wow, he interrupted me.
I'm sorry.
He's got some facts.
Facts are good. I was just he encouraged a woman to kind of lay low about rape allegations to like not worry about it and just kind of brush it under the rug.
Yeah.
She came to him about how her husband was like abusing her. There was another one that her husband was abusing her, and he was like, "Well, just pray for him and
yeah." He said,
"Don't call the police."
Yeah, don't call the police.
He said, "Don't call the police." And so there's been a few things where like people have come to him about whether it's rape or abuse, and he's just like, "Well, don't call the police. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just pray and suffer well."
Oh my gosh! See, now this is really scary because, and like A&E has a series right now about like abusive cults and like demonizing things, and like if you think about like Jehovah's Witnesses and stuff like that, they were showing like it's very prevalent in super cultic religions for people to do this kind of thing, and for people who claim to be part of the evangelical movement to be doing it. Like that's not what the church is about at all. It's crazy,
right. And it's especially in light of like the Me Too movement and all this stuff, where this has been a big topic as of late. It is starting to become a big topic in the church as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. I understand like on a personal level from things I've seen that like, and it's. We've seen some instances of this in the Me Too movement that once a lot of people start talking about it, there are people who come up and make accusations just because they're like, oh, I want to jump on this and draw attention to myself.
Right.
But that doesn't mean every accusation has to be taken seriously. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to abuse and all this stuff, and women being mistreated and all that stuff, the church needs to make a clear stand. We're not going to stand for this. Mm-hmm. And they did fire him from his position.
Oh, that's good.
For a while they changed his position where he wasn't the president, but he still had some leadership as they were trying to figure things out. And then as more things came to light, they flat out fired him. And they handled it well. And significant leaders, including Steve Gaines, the president of the Southern Baptist Convention, Russell Moore, leader of the ERLC, and significant leaders in the convention, came out and said, this is not okay. And so I think the convention handled it well, but it's still concerning. And to me, I think the most shocking part is that you have all these, really hyper-conservative Baptists who are like, oh, well, he's just old, like he just wasn't thinking.
Yeah, that was what I was afraid of.
Excuse it because of that. And
that was my next question. Are there hyper-conservatives standing in solidarity quicker with him than with maybe some of these women?
Unfortunately, it's almost, and the thing that's so disturbing about it is it's almost a 50-50 split of people in the Southern Baptist Convention who support him and don't. This has been a very divisive thing.
Yeah, I think that's a whole can of worms. You can open the conversation.
Yeah, and I hate to get into it, but to me this says we need the next Baptist Reformation.
He might, real ones.
Yeah, he might, he might be in an indirect way leading the next conservative resurgence, where it seems that some people need to be sifted out.
Well, I was reading an article or not really an article, more, I don't know, on a blog post or an open letter or something by Albert Mohler. Mm-hmm. And Albert Mohler was saying, God is about to judge the Southern Baptist Convention.
Yeah.
Like, something's going down, and a lot of people are about to get in trouble, and a lot of things are coming to light, and God is going to judge the Southern Baptist Convention for what's happening.
Right. Yeah, and he was very close friends with Paige Patterson, and apparently some of this stuff had been brushed under the rug for a while. So I agree. I'm a Southern Baptist through and through, but I also realize that that's not like that's not the only church that God works through.
We work through the Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church as well.
I mean, I guess so. Although, Ryan, you'd be... I don't know if you realized, but actually traditionally when the Southern Baptist Convention started, they were all Calvinist. That's changed over time. But,
You're welcome at Church by the Sea. Because we're interdenominational.
Even your Catholic
Anyway, the main point is... when an accusation comes up, we can't assume that it's true, and we can't assume that it's not true. It needs to be properly, taken through and seen. Like, okay, it needs to be investigated and all that, and the church needs to stand up and stand against any sort of misogyny or abuse, anything like that. So I just felt like it's been
a big topic, not just amongst the church and Christians, but this has been like in the New York Times and like secular news. It's a big deal. And so, yeah, that's that.
We're 30 minutes in, and we just finished our subpoints.
Just finished our subpoints. That's okay. I don't want to talk about this too long anyway. The Bible is boring.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just kidding. Johnny, what are we talking about today? It's Eschatology Part 2.
Yeah, I think that would be good, and it'd be important, and I'll try to keep it briefish, since we did spend so many times. So many times. We gotta end this soon. Okay, since we spent so much time on our subpoints, but I think it's important before we jump into the book of Revelation to understand what type of literature it is, because there has been, and we talked about this a little bit in our last eschatology podcast, but there's been so much, like, and no offense if you're Left Behind type person, but like Left Behind, like, I mean, we look at that, and everything's been sort of coerced to be like this very articulate, linear story with all of these codes deciphered, so that this little locust in Revelation means this specific thing, and all these kind of weird things become literal things, and all of a sudden your grandma's like, oh, there's going to be a microchip, and that's the mark of the beast.
No, it was funny. So my boss was watching a video on the rapture at work today that Charles sent Leonard a video on the rapture, and he's watching it on YouTube.
Are we going to edit out poor Leonard's name?
No, Leonard's a great guy.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything bad about him. He's just watching the video. Right. And as I overheard it, and so is Charles. Like, I'm not saying anything bad about it.
I thought you were about to say, okay, good.
No, I just made a joke as I was listening to this video about the rapture as I explained it, and I just turned to Leonard and looked at him, and I said, Thanos. Because it was talking about people disappearing and all this stuff. Anyway, carry on.
Okay. So, bottom line is, there's been a lot of weird ways to interpret Revelation, and I believe that a lot of these codes and things that we've created and trying to superimpose our current experience into the book of Revelation comes from not understanding what it is. And so I wanted to kind of briefly talk about apocalyptic literature, and to begin that conversation, I think it's just important to note, you want to know what type of thing you're reading. You don't want to pick up a Hardy Boys book and somebody tell you this is a sci-fi novel, and the whole time you're waiting for the spaceship or the abduction, and it's very confusing, right? Because this is really just normal mystery fare. It's not.
When's the alien going to show?
Yeah, it's is the Hardy Boys an alien? If you think that you're reading sci-fi, you're going to get very confused, and you can apply that across the spectrum of things.
Wait, Hardy Boys isn't science fiction?
If you start to read a novel and somebody tells you that it's history and some really outlandish things happen, you're going to be this is I can't believe this happened back in the 40s. And it's going to be
I can't believe he cheated on Bella.
Yeah, exactly. If you read Twilight as a historical novel, you're going to put garlic outside your window because vampires are real all of a sudden. So,
I guess I better put that away.
So, I mean, there's just this logical need to understand what we're reading, right?
Yeah. Johnny, what does the word apocalypse mean?
The word apocalypse literally means an uncovering.
Or a revealing.
Yeah.
So Revelation, Apocalypse, they are actually kind of interchangeable. When
yes.
we hear the word apocalypse, we think zombies.
Yes.
Or literally all it means is a revealing.
Yeah. Yes.
So basically Revelation, like we talked about last week, is God revealing what his whole word has been about.
Yes. Yeah. It literally means an uncovering. It's a disclosure of knowledge, or like you said, a revelation.
So I think when people pull out a King James Bible and they see the word apocalypse, it makes it even more fun to think that mantis horse, long-haired creature is going to come and attack people, and I can't wait, because when we hear apocalypse, we think zombies and stuff, but it's actually not.
Yes.
So yeah, I was just curious. Before we start, let's know what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and that's yes, absolutely. So there's different types of literature in the Bible, and I think that there's a wider implication too, and we won't go into it for now. But anything you're reading, it really is important to understand what genre of literature it is in the Bible, and to whom it was written. But there's different examples of apocalyptic literature in the Bible. There's portions of Daniel. There's things scattered throughout Daniel 7 through 12 that are good examples of an uncovering where something is purported in a symbol or in like a weird vision, and then it's later uncovered or revealed and explained. There's even
the apocalypse.
Yeah, there's even little foreshadowings of that in Ezekiel, Isaiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and technically those are prophetic pieces of literature, but they have elements which both inspire like apocalyptic literature that comes outside of the canon of Scripture, and are as well inspired by even like Babylonian forms of apocalyptic literature, which leads me to my next point. This was a well-known form of literature among many cultures. It was a very popular thing. It was almost like pop culture at the time. So that's really helpful in understanding apocalyptic literature as well.
Right. A lot of the Gnostic Gospels were considered apocalyptic literature.
Mm-hmm. So all these things are really important because, like, imagine being commissioned to write, like, by God, to write an inspired book of the Bible at a time where everybody was reading and receiving their information through a certain mode of literature, through a pop form of literature. And so it was no mistake that this book was written in a form that was super popularized at the time. And why did they choose that specific form of literature? Because there were lots of popular forms of literature among the Jews, but remember, this is for the Gentiles as well. And apocalyptic literature is in pagan culture as well.
So if it happened today, John would have written it in the form of a comic book.
Yeah, I had I had analogies like sci-fi or whatever is most popular now.
I would have loved to
John
see
might
the
have written
illustrations he would have made with it, you know?
Yeah.
Like the comic book kind of.
Yeah, no, John might have very well, I know, of course, we can never know what would have happened, but, I mean, the idea is that they're writing to their audience at the time, and it doesn't mean, this is, again, another implication for all of our reading of Scripture, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have, a meaning for us today. I think I did a double negative there, but it certainly does have meaning for us today, but we can only derive that from what it meant for them at the time.
Right. When we interpret any kind of scripture, we interpret literally, and when I say literally, I don't mean word for word, what does it mean, but rather, what is the author trying to tell his audience? So,
yeah, context, genre, all of that is very important.
Mm-hmm. And in doing that, you're going to find the wider implication. And once again, if you've taken any sort of literature class, even in high school, you know this is true of anything that you read. If you read an extremely old novel, there are certain colloquialisms and things like that that appear within the book.
Did you just cuss?
No, I didn't.
Do not ever call me a colloquialism again.
There are certain things within the book that you have to, like, understand the culture around it. Like, like the whole, like, even Pride and Prejudice, you have to understand the sort of system that was there for courting and marriage and things at the time to really understand and appreciate the story.
Yeah, that's why a lot of old books like that you can get a version at Barnes & Noble's that has like footnotes to help you explain those things.
Absolutely, yeah. So this isn't like the Bible's like trying to be hidden or mysterious. It was just written a really long time ago, and so we have to do the same thing we do with any old thing and understand why it's written the way that it is.
Context is key.
Yes.
Context.
Now, a few things that will help to set up our further eschatological... I don't think I said that right.
Eschatological.
Okay, we should stop trying to say this.
Our End Times podcast will be further understood, or better understood, by understanding common characteristics across apocalyptic literature, such as the presence of cosmic dualism. All that means is good versus evil. So,
I thought we were going to see some hardy space boys.
So you'll see this a lot. There's actually three, like, really broad examples of good versus evil within Revelation that we'll look at. And but it's really important to understand that this was ingrained in the type of literature you're reading. It is about good most of the time. I mean, in this case, in Revelation, it is. But it's about good triumphing over evil.
Nice.
Also, contain visions and revelations, right? So a symbol and then the uncovering of its real world meaning. Now, yeah, this gets really confusing though, because we have a symbol, which is already weird, and then we have an uncovering of its real world meaning, but it's the uncovering of its real world meaning at the time it was written. So there's a lot to unpack as we go through this.
Yeah, so I think that shows that to a certain extent, Revelation is complicated, but just not complicated in the way that we make it.
Right.
You know, there are layers to studying it.
Exactly. Apocalyptic literature always contains a contrast between the present evil age and the coming age of the new heaven and the new earth. And this is really the primary theme of Revelation that kind of runs through the whole thing, is that we live in a dark time that's broken, but we look forward to the coming of Christ and the establishment of the new heaven and the new earth.
Yay!
Oh.
Okay, and then there's always pessimism concerning the present age, like the things are really dark right now, and you can kind of see that from our subpoints. But optimism concerning the age to come, right? Really important, okay, here to set this up, because again, we're going to get into this later on in our future podcast. There are references and allusions to mythology, okay? So, yeah, mythological...
like Zeus?
Well... No, but there's a lot of mythology. Not in this one anyway. Zeus might have been in some other more Greek apocalyptic stuff. Then you have numerology. Okay,
numbers.
Yes, huge. Okay,
666.
Yes. That's a very. I can't wait to talk about numerology, especially in context with the mark of the beast. But numerology it's something that's weird to us, but it was very just common, everyday, commonplace. Literary device back in the day. And then you have animal symbolism of the day, and for different cultures this was different. Of course, for the Israelites, there were a lot of common animal things from their history, such as the lamb,
the dragon.
Well, that would have been...
they had dragons back then.
Are you trying to be the devil's advocate here?
Sure, why not?
No, I mean the dragon ends up representing Babylon and a lot of evil stuff. But then you have the Lamb of God, which is a very clear animal symbol for Jesus, right? And then locust, they would have thought, Exodus, when all the locusts came and ate everything. That's a symbol of destruction and of consummation. Anyway, we can't get there yet because that's a whole nother podcast. But any questions so far?
Right, so it seems like for this, because of context and stuff, John's immediate audience would have had a lot easier time understanding this than we do, because we have to try and read this literature through John's immediate audience's eyes.
Yes.
We have to put ourselves in their shoes, which is a very difficult task 2,000 years after the book was written.
It is a difficult task. But it also, I think it helps if we go into the framework, knowing that it was an easy read for the people of the time. You know what I mean?
So it's possible
to understand it, right? So if you go to Revelation knowing that technically this is an easy read, it helps inspire you to know that, okay, wait, I might be able to do this. But it is an extremely complex process, and it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to think like an early church Christian.
Happened overnight for me. You guys are just slow.
We're not in fear of being burned as a human torch, or all those kind of things, all the things that they were experiencing at the time. We're not under the oppressive empire of Nero.
Right, I haven't been burned as a human torch in a while. So.
Yeah, so there's a lot.
I can't relate.
It's been at least a month for me.
Right.
So wait, before you go on, what kind of resources can people look to try and put ourselves in these people's shoes? Use commentaries?
Tim LaHaye.
Okay, wait, no.
Nic Cage?
I mean, I'm a little biased.
Yeah.
I do a lot of my research, and it's actually come into a lot of my coursework. It's being used at the collegiate level already, but the BibleProject.com is a great place to look for stuff. But what's interesting about this issue is if you look at a lot of other commentaries, I know that you like the John MacArthur Study Bible.
Yeah, although I probably would disagree with John MacArthur on a lot of eschatological issues.
You would, but if you read his study Bible, he tries not to go too, as far as I know, because I have it as well, he tries to keep it pretty broad, and there's a lot more that I think we agree on as Christians than we realize. It's just kind of become muddled and
that's true.
Cultural eschatology or whatever. I don't know how I would describe it, but
yeah, I think I agree with you there. Although, yeah, I would disagree a lot with
Sure, I totally understand. But I just think that there are some things, and obviously there's at least one thing that MacArthur does well, which is to help you understand the history of the time.
John MacArthur is really good at teaching and pulling out meaning from Scripture.
I agree with everything John MacArthur has ever said.
Okay, you're in trouble.
This is going on air.
No, but but I do think, and I know some people would hear me and go, well, Johnny, you like John MacArthur? And I certainly, I don't. There's a lot I disagree with about John MacArthur said, but he's so good. And he has so much knowledge of history, of biblical history and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot to be said.
Right, and because he's such a good teacher, you have to, I mean, it gives him credibility. You at least have to listen to what he says.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's a good place to look. Even simpler study Bibles, like the Life Application.
Like Tim LaHaye.
The Life Application Study Bible has an entire chart on like the different interpretations of Revelation. But I think at the end of the day, my favorite resource, because it's been the most biblical and the
Nic Cage Study Bible
has been the Bible.
Ooh, he should do that.
Project. The Bible Project.
Yeah, the Bible Project is good stuff.
Yeah. So it kind of summarizes a lot and does a lot of the guesswork for you. And then, of course, if you just get on Bible Gateway and look up apocalyptic literature, there's a ton on that specific topic.
You might even find Twilight on there.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to ramble on too much longer, but there's a few more things I want to cover. In all apocalyptic literature, there's this idea of unity of history and a goal toward which history is moving. So that's really interesting because that fits Revelation. So I think that John probably chose this particular form of literature not only because it was popular, because people would understand it, but also because it contained it was meant to contain a device that's important to his whole message, which is that history is moving towards the coming of Christ, the final coming of Christ. All apocalyptic literature, even pagan literature, develops this belief in life after death. It develops an idea of possible resurrection and the judgment of evil people, all those kind of things. And then there's 4 distinct characteristics of apocalyptic literature that are important. One is that it's esoteric. Okay?
Ooh, what does that mean?
It means it's for, and we've already discussed this at good length, it's for specific people with people-specific stuff. Okay, so with wider implications for everyone. So in that way, a lot of the Bible is esoteric. You read it and you go, this is for this person, but this is what it means for me and what it meant for them.
There's application for us.
Nice.
Really important here. This will save you a lot of weirdness, like being on a plane and looking over and Grandpa's pants are the only thing that's left.
Grandpa!
That's not supposed to happen?
No, that's actually not in the Bible.
You're supposed to wear your rapture pants.
You're supposed to wear your rapture-proof pants. Which, by the way, we sell right here on the podcast.
Just go check out our store.
Yeah, we have some holy water on there, too. Wow.
No, but one thing that will help you avoid that kind of weirdness is that you understand that it's literary in form. So this is where I could get in trouble. Maybe you guys disagree with me, but it's pretty clear that across the spectrum of apocalyptic literature, this is pretty true, that they're literary creations of the author derived from self-conscious statements, which means that it doesn't necessarily mean that John actually saw all of this.
What?
He could have taken...
Heretic! Get out of here! Is this Heretic Thursday now?
Where's the steak? Where's the fire?
Welcome to Theology Thursday, a place where foolish controversy flows like free antelope. All right, go ahead. Finish your heresy.
I'm almost done. Okay, symbolic in language. Okay, so in other words, this is kind of like...
Hey, I'm not supposed to take it like word for word?
Not everything. No, everything's a symbol that means something real, okay? And this is not uncommon either to like language and literature today. We use symbols, you know, all the time.
I mean, yeah.
When I see that weird little line with the dot and the little, I think Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
I'm very familiar with the symbol of Starbucks.
That's a pagan symbol, by the way.
If you're at Disney for any amount of time, you
And
thousands.
And if you pay for Starbucks, then you're supporting gay people. So,
you see thousands of Mickey faces. Okay, these are all symbols of a larger brand. Or
Mickey face 3 Illuminati.
Ah, that's right.
Those are even more shallow examples. Obviously, there are deeper.
Let me guess, you
symbols.
drink Monster too.
Do you worship the devil?
So symbolic language, and then the fourth thing is pseudonyms and authorship, which means, and
He just cussed at me again.
Pseudonyms.
Secret of Nim. That's a horrible
Pseudonyms. It means like in books that these are, by the way, that I'm about to mention are apocryphal. They're not part of the canon of Scripture. But books like the Book of Enoch.
Okay, we are digging so deep into heresy right now. We are never. No. Number one thing I have learned from this episode: never let the co-host lead the discussion.
Yeah.
I told him, because he kind of came up with it, we got to do an episode all about apocalyptic literature. And I'm like, I don't know if that requires a whole episode, but okay, I'll let you lead the discussion on that. And now we're just Heresy Thursday.
I need to pull John Calvin in here.
I apologize. Me and Ryan want you to know, because we founded this thing.
Put it in the comments if you appreciate my commentary.
No.
Also, your favorite pizza topping.
That we do not endorse the views of Johnny Grubbs.
Well, let me just say this in my defense. I don't endorse the views of the apocryphal books, but there are apocryphal books that would be considered apocalyptic literature. So
You probably preach out of the apocryphal books.
You probably wrote the apocryphal books.
Okay, no. What happened in the Book of Enoch?
So, Book of Enoch, Book of Jubilee.
Jubilee.
Both of those books use pseudonyms.
That sounds like a Pentecostal book.
They use pseudonyms and authorship. So, in other words, there are times where they'll say an Elijah-esque thing and like claim to be Elijah, but it's really clear that this was not Elijah and thus not inspired and all these kind of things.
Well, that's what you see in the Gnostic Gospels. You know?
Yeah. So this is pseudonyms and authorship. Now,
Double heresy.
this isn't as important here because we're pretty certain that John wrote the book. But what's clear is that it's important that John is, whether he's a pseudo-author, like whether somebody said that John wrote it or not, his character is important in the whole thing. So, and yeah.
Connor, were you about to say something?
No, I'm not. It's something I can't say on air. I'll tell you guys later.
Oh my gosh.
This has been really exciting. You know what we're talking about next week? Guess what part 3 is? Millenniums.
Whoa.
We're going to talk about amillennial, premillennial, postmillennial, midmillennial, submillennial. I made up some of those.
As my dad would say, pan-millennial.
Those dumb millennials.
Those darn millennials.
Those meddling kids.
Those darn millennials and their theological conversations that they cultivate on a weekly podcast called Theology Thursday. Darn them.
So, yeah, thank you, Johnny, for leading the heresy
That was
today.
very enlightening.
No, it was. You did a good job.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have to burn him at the stake after this.
I got Calvin on speed dial.
So, no, I'm excited about talking about millenniums next week. I think, like, out of all the episodes... Okay, no. Actually, I'm most excited... Wait a minute. I'm most excited about the episode on the Antichrist. I almost just said I'm most excited about the Antichrist.
Yes! Who's getting burned at the stake now?
I realize I probably shouldn't say that. But the Millenniums episode I'm also excited about too, because that's really fun stuff.
I think that the Millenniums, there's like, as far as eschatology go, that's one of the most debated things in eschatology.
Which one? Oh, the Millenniums. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totes my goats.
No.
So anyway, jump on theologythursday.com where you can actually get a combo pack right now for $40 with the Nic Cage study Bible, some holy water,
and rapture-proof
jeans. Rapture-proof jeans. We would like to thank our Patreon supporter, Lisa Sweet, for supporting the podcast.
Thank you, Lisa.
You rock. Thank you very much. Also, next week, we are going to start something kind of interesting. It's probably going to cut into some of the sub-point time, so we'll see how it all looks. But we're going to try and add in a new segment to the show.
Uh-oh.
You will now be able to watch the show on Facebook Live. So there's going to be video format next week.
Ooh!
Johnny, say something like you're excited.
Woo!
Wow.
Oh
Never
my
mind.
gosh.
I'm gonna have to edit
Johnny,
that out.
you no longer co-host.
You're so.
Sorry, I was lost in thought about apocalyptic literature.
Why are you so old? So no, we're gonna.
YOLO.
We will have live video feed, and you can actually. We're gonna have a segment where you can ask questions. So be thinking about what you want to ask, and we're
Ask
gonna
me
try and
something.
answer them
Don't ask Johnny anything. He'll
in
give you
real
a
time.
answer.
Actually, be able to interact with you. So we're excited about
Yeah,
that.
if you can make a comment affirming me that I'm not a heretic, that'd be great.
No.
Anyway, so if you're not friends with me, Connor Grubbs on Facebook, go ahead and do that so that you
Whoa,
can keep
this
up
is
with.
this self-promotion here? What?
No, it's just that's the page that the Facebook Live is going to be on. So
Oh.
yeah,
Here's one.
Wait, don't we have a Theology Thursday page?
no, we don't. We have an Instagram account and a Twitter that you never post on. You
I always post on the Twitter.
turd blossom.
Whoa! Watch your language. That was not edifying.
I'm sorry,
That
Ryan.
just tore me
Hey,
down.
Ryan, I love you.
I don't.
I'm gonna buy you a
I
cake.
I do love you.
I feel like this needs to be trimmed up a
Johnny.
little bit. Anything else?
I just want to go get my rapture-proof pants on.
Oh gosh.
No, this has been great. I can't wait till next week. You guys are the best.
No.
All right. See you next week on Facebook Live. It's either going to be Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. We don't know yet. We never know. So keep an eye on the Instagram, the Twitters, and all that stuff. If you have any questions, send them in at theologythursdaypodcast@gmail.com or save it for our first Facebook Live episode next week.
Smash that like button.
Nice.